Theodoros Kolokotronis. The legendary Old Man of Morias was born on Easter Monday of 1770 at Ramovouni of Old Messinia. At 15 years old, he was already an armatolos. The first warrant from the Sultan against him was in 1802, the second in 1806. He was 36 years old when he went to Zakynthos. There, his past life ends and that of the revolution begins. They described him as a one-eyed cyclops. They cast him as Beelzebub. His complexion was brownish-yellow, his small black eyes were sunk in their sockets, and while the captains dressed in expensive garments, Kolokotronis wore the cheapest clothes. He disliked European military uniforms, the Prussian philhellene Dr. Daniel Johann Elster recounts in his 1828 memoirs. But was Kolokotronis truly like that? The Dane Adam Friedel, part painter, part musician and part soldier, had the opportunity during his stay in Greece to meet Kolokotronis and to make life drawings of his figure. In his lithograph portraits, starting with the one of 1824, he portrays him with a piercing gaze and with looks like those described by the French philhellene Voutier. Thin and dark, with deep-set eyes, a big moustache, a hooked nose, wavy hair and a small red fez worn crookedly on the head. And from the sullen figure of the first life drawings, we gradually pass to a proud old man with a leader's stare, long hair flowing down his shoulders and an impressive uniform and helmet. Kolokotronis loved wearing the helmet, recounts Georgios Tertsetis, who wrote his memoirs. On the helmet was the word May, that is, may Greece be reborn. It was engraved in 1808. At that time, the general was colonel of the English army in the 1st Regiment of the Greek Light Infantry in Zakynthos. Unlike earlier Russian and French formations in the Ionian Islands, in which the enlisted soldiers wore their local costumes, the English established their own uniform for new recruits. Along with the fustanella and the hose, they wore a red overcoat gold-trimmed for the officers. That is how the British Sir Richard Church, a generalis or general at the time, appeared in London, where he went to ask permission to form a 2nd regiment of Greek volunteers. Added to Church's outfit were a cuirass, the dragoon helmet then commonly used by many armies, a pair of epaulettes with lion heads, and a sabre. Kolokotronis' battle gear, which survived his military service in the English army and is now on display at the National Historical Museum, was reportedly modelled on this. It seems that Kolokotronis preserved elements of this uniform later on as a general of the Greek Revolution, as attested by various illustrations. In the years that followed, the pictorial representation of Kolokotronis with his helmet made its way into historical pageants as well as other kinds of depictions. In 1930, during the celebrations for the 100 years of the Greek independent state organized by the Lykeion and Ellinidon at the Athens Stadium, Kolokotronis entered the stadium's track on horseback, wearing the helmet on his head. In 1971, he appears on the big screen in the movie The Big Moment of 21, Papaflessas. In 1996, he appears again as a cartoon character in the movie We the Greeks. This depiction of Kolokotronis is also common in events in his honour, like the celebrations for the liberation of Kalamata that take place every year on March 23rd, while it is also found in the theatre. In 1984, the role of Kolokotronis is played by Dionysis Papagiannopoulos in Our Big Circus by Iakovos Kambanelis. Since then, the figure of Kolokotronis has been carved into effigies of every size, with materials of every kind, even beeswax, until the Old Man of Morias becomes an RPG hero in video games. he becomes a fine miniature, often numbered, destined to fill the shelves and dioramas of collectors along with other heroes who played a decisive role in the Independence War. He is transformed into a fictional hero and is placed on the battlefield of board games and strategy games. He enters the magical world of the Shadow Theatre and Karagiozis. He is printed on glossy paper like the ones once wrapped around Gloria chocolates, seemingly insignificant wrappers preserved today at the Greek Literary and Historical Archive, National Bank of Greece Cultural Foundation. He is even printed on advertising posters and reprinted and copied and modified and so forth to the point of being crocheted with hook and yarn. The figure of Kolokotronis with his helmet was, in the end, destined to be imprinted on everyone's memory, as it became the basis for many sculptures. His bust is chiseled in stone, decorates central city squares and church squares, it lives among people, and sometimes it cohabits with other heroes in public spaces. As the years pass, the figure of the old man is sculpted anew by other hands or even by the same hands, as with the sculptures of Kolokotronis on horseback by Lazaros Ochos, and is placed in new locations. In 1884, the people of Nafplion commissioned Sochos to create a statue of Theodoros Kolokotronis. The general had to be represented on horseback with his official combat uniform. The statue was worked on in Paris in a workshop whose use was granted to Sochos by his French professor at the École des Beaux-Arts, Antoine Mercier. In 1900, however, Sochos made a second identical model of Kolokotronis on horseback to be installed in Athens. The statue was finally erected in 1904 in the square of the Old Parliament that was at that point renamed Kolokotronis Square.